So a ton of people have been jumping into Battlefield 6 since the launch and everybody's having a blast, but I've seen a lot of people say that the gunplay feels a little bit odd, and I tend to agree. But this being said, there has always been bullet bloom or spread within a specific cone of fire in pretty much every Battlefield game as far as I can remember, and I think a lot of players potentially aren't used to playing with the gunplay like in Battlefield, where there's this random bullet deviation within that cone of fire. So I just wanted to share some tips with everyone today on how to win more gunfights consistently by implementing all of these practices into every match you play. So I'm just in a bot lobby right now, and we're going to fire at this wall. I'm going to control the recoil. I have the SCAR or something SCAR, whatever it's called in this game, and we're about like, what, 25 meters out here. Let's just get a little bit further from there. There we go. So I'm going to control the recoil, and then I'm going to show you guys how the bullets land on that specific wall. So we're going to go ahead and control it. So you can even see the tracers aren't going exactly where my reticle is. And if we move up here, you can see it is quite a big spread. So that's the cone of fire is right here as I'm getting shot from the side. So the cone of fire is all there. So the bullets can land anywhere within that cone of fire when you're just fully automatic shooting at range. And that wasn't even that far, right? We were only at 25 meters. So if we do the same exercise and potentially do it on this container here, because there's already bullet holes over there, let's just get like, I don't know, about here. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to tap fire the weapon, pretty rapidly in between bursts, but we're just going to look at how the bullets land then. Okay, so I controlled the recoil there, pulled down on my mouse quite a bit, and you can see the spread. I maybe, went full auto a little bit too much here, but it's a lot tighter than what we have over here. As you can see here, the spread is just all over the place, and this is what is causing a lot of people to, lose a lot of gunfights, is the fact that within that cone of fire, bullets are going everywhere but on target, and obviously at longer ranges, the cone of fire is larger because the target's further away. So when you're engaging enemies at like 50 meters with an AR, you're just full autoing it. Chances are most of your bullets will never go where your reticle is actually aiming because of that random bullet deviation. Now, some could argue that there's potentially too much random bullet deviation, and I would tend to agree. It's a little bit excessive right now, especially on some of the weapons, but it's very important to only start shooting when you're actually fully transitioned into ADS. So if we start shooting before, the bullets will literally just go anywhere. So we're going to do that again. So I started shooting before and it went right here. The bullet went right here while my reticle was like right here. So it's kind of difficult to see. It's going pretty quick, but if you start shooting before, it went down there and my reticle was up here. Oh, now it went up, right? So you really have to wait to start firing when you're fully transitioned into ADS. Now, obviously, if you're in a CQB engagement, chances are the bullets will still hit because the target is so close to you, but at those longer ranges, you really want to be just tap firing like that, and it'll keep the bullets on target much better. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that bullet spread. That would all go on the target right there. Some weapons are a little bit easier or have a lot less of this, so we're just going to respawn with like an SMG or potentially a carbine, and I'll show you guys that. Let's get rid of that, and then we're just going to fire, and I'm going to control the recoil. So the AK-205, actually quite accurate. As you can see, it is pretty accurate. So this is probably one of the better weapons to use. All right, so we have the QBZ now and all those bullets reset. So we're going to go 25 meters out. We're just going to go ahead and control the recoil. So it's still pretty bad. I'd say the AK-205 is probably one of the better ones. That's actually pretty bad for the QBZ, and it really feels like it's on a weapon per weapon basis. So if we go ahead here and just tap fire and control the recoil, you can see it's a lot better. I whiffed a little bit at the end there, but look at that bullet. Look at that bullet. It's all the way down there. So you really want to just be tap firing as much as possible when you're at those longer ranges, and at all costs avoid strafing like this when you're firing your weapon. Like, we're at 25 meters out, and look at that spread. It's just, it's no wonder that a lot of players potentially are having issues with killing enemies at, even 25 meters is not that far, but I see a lot of players just completely whiffing and getting killed because they're strafing at the same time. Potentially that is a habit from another game that they brought over to Battlefield 6, but it is imperative that you just potentially stand still and engage that way, unless you really have to make use of cover. ideally. And yeah, just engage your targets very quickly, just burst fire and they should be dead, and then you can move on. Don't just full auto fire because it's going to take you longer to kill enemies that way. Now, one of the class of weapons that actually feels much better to tap fire even are the SMGs. Now, they have severe damage drop off, but overall, if you're tap firing, the bullet spread is going to be pretty nice. So you can see here, pretty consistent. Still got some, you know, left and right. Maybe I whiffed a little bit on controlling the recoil there, but overall, most of your bullets are potentially going to go on target. And I was getting kills with the SGX here at like 80 meters easy, just tap firing. And you can even wait longer in between bursts like that, and the bullet spread or grouping will be a lot tighter. So it's somewhat similar. I kind of whiffed here. They went up to the top here. But then there's something else that you have to take into account, where some attachments, and we're going to go back into the redeploy menu here, some attachments actually decrease your accuracy while aiming down sight and moving. So you really have to pay attention to what they say. So if we just look at the SGX here, because I have all the attachments for it, if we look at the barrel, so this one, as you can see, lightweight barrel that improves aim down sight's accuracy while moving. So if you're somebody that wants to move a lot when you're firing, then potentially look at attachments that have this specification where it improves the aim down sight accuracy while moving, so you can get kills even while strafing left to right. And then you also have some underbarrels that do the same thing. So this one slightly reduces recoil at the cost of aim down sight's accuracy while moving. So these are all things that you really have to take into account when you're engaging enemies at longer ranges and strafing while you're firing your weapons, even in CQB, because those shots might start whiffing if you don't have the correct set of attachments for how you want to use that specific weapon. So with all this being said, what you have to take away from this video is tap fire as much as you can, especially at longer ranges. Don't full auto, because chances are your bullets are just going to randomly go, you know, elsewhere than on target within that cone of fire. Sometimes you might be lucky and they'll all land on target, but you know, chances are they probably won't. And if that other person knows how to use the guns in Battlefield and knows how to play around that random bullet deviation more, you're going to be on the receiving end and you're going to be dead. Don't start firing until you're fully transitioned into ADS, especially again at longer ranges. Well, longer ranges, I use this word very loosely here. Even at like 25 meters, only start firing once you're fully ADS'd in, because otherwise your bullets are just going to go off target completely. Avoid strafing while you're actually engaging enemies at those medium to longish ranges, because again, this is going to throw off your accuracy where the bullets land, and they're not going to be landing on target. And the next one is pay attention to the attachments. Very important. If you're planning on using a weapon aggressively and you want to move around a lot with it, try to use attachments that actually increase your aim down sight accuracy while moving. If you're using something at longer ranges and you're going to be mostly static when you're firing, then it's not really too big of a deal to use attachments that reduce the accuracy while you're aiming down sight and moving. But all these things put together, I promise if you start implementing them into every single one of your engagements, you'll get used to it, to the tap fire mechanic, and you're going to be beaming people at incredibly long ranges, and you're going to be having an absolute blast. So with all that being said, I think that's enough for today's video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.